What if I told you how you view the world is having a dramatically negative effect on your life? Would you want to change it? Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Wackett. Thanks for joining me for another video as we work to empower and equip you with the confidence and skills to write your own story so that you can live a life on purpose. Today we're going to be talking about the idea of cognitive distortions, a term used in cognitive behavioral therapy that essentially means the biased perspectives through which we view the world. Today we're going to talk about how they've developed and their role. And in my next video, we'll dive deeper into how they present in our daily lives, including defining the 12 most common distortions and how we can begin to dismantle them. If we break down the term, a cognitive distortion simply means warped logic or thinking. It means that the way we take in and experience information goes through a filter, very specific to us and our own narrative, that contorts an experience to one that fits our own story. Now, this makes sense if you think about our lives as subjective interpretations of an objective experience. I'm sure you can all think of a time in your life where you went through the same situation as someone else and both had very different reactions to it and experiences within it. That's normal. The problem isn't that we have a subjective experience or view of the world. The problem is when our experiences are rooted in inaccurate thinking or shame-based living systems. Cognitive distortions are developed from beliefs untrue about us at our core and lead to false assumptions about and in the world. This causes significant psychological distress and impacts the way we think, feel, act, and connect. So where do they come from? Many of you have heard me talk about shame at this point, and if you hadn't had a chance to watch it yet, I will put a link to the video that I did on this topic in the show notes below so that you can check it out. In short, shame is the fear we feel and reactions that incur when faced with a threat, real or perceived, to connection and belonging. Now, we require connection to survive. When we're born, that's our primary goal, to secure connection and attachment. We're trying to find our place in the world and understand the systems and rules at play to be a part of it. And as we grow up, the more experiences we have in this world, the firmer the rules seem to become about how to do that. Through direct and indirect experiences, we begin to see that people are treated differently based on their identities and characteristics. In short, how well do they play the parts they're given? These experiences lead us to assume that you have to look a certain way, act a certain way, and in different roles and settings, you better be able to switch into different systems of operation with ease. You develop a belief that you alone are inherently unworthy, unlovable, and not enough, which is a threat to connection. You have to find a way to make up for or hide your flaws and deficiencies. So you become desperate to do what you can to avoid anyone else from seeing this. You focus your lens of self on the world around you, prioritizing external validation over internal rooting. You'll do what you can to fit in at all costs. This is the anchor point for cognitive distortions. So at this point, you've developed your operation manual. Do this, be this way, and everything's going to be good. But the roots of this system are ever changing, as again, the goal is about performing to appease everyone else. What that looks like can change from moment to moment, person to person. This means your fear brain believes you're constantly a split second away from losing that connection if you take one misstep. Say the wrong thing, miss a key point, get caught looking a certain way, apply the wrong rules from a different system, or miss the mark, and your connection is lost. This understandably can lead to heavy stress on the brain and body. Your fear brain is on hyperdrive and always looking for anything, even threat adjacent, that could be a problem. Over time, the system for assessment becomes increasingly rigid, and your fear brain is not in the market of taking chances. Anything that could be a threat is labeled as a threat. There's no room for interpretation. There's just yes or no, safe or unsafe. If you may have said the wrong thing, you definitely said the wrong thing. If someone might have seemed upset, they could have been upset with you, and over time, the story you believe is that this person is upset because of something you did. Possibility becomes certainty, and these certainties are the distortions. Cognitive distortions are heavily exaggerated or over-applied thought filters that we wear like a pair of glasses, and we become dependent on them to see and make sense of the world. We assume truths and outcomes, and everything gets tied to this. The entirety of our lives becomes viewable through these beliefs, all rooted in the notion that we're the problem. Only thoughts, situations, and experiences that align with this get filtered through. This means that information that suggests otherwise will be dismissed or manipulated to fit this belief system, which you can imagine has a dramatic effect on the way we live our lives. If I always assume I'm the problem, how is that going to affect how I set boundaries? If I always believe that I have nothing worthy to say or get hyperfixated on mistakes I've made or could make, what's the likelihood I'll put myself out there, try something new, or share an idea? If my narrative is that I'm a failure, how likely will it be that I accept any positive feedback or see opportunities as ones that I'm deserving of or fitting of me? See, we become the hero, victim, and villain in every story. We have all the control and yet no control. We oversimplify everyone and everything outside of us while overcomplicating our own lives. Everything becomes about us, and the deeper we fall into this, the less stable we are to develop connections of meaning and authenticity, putting us at risk of the very thing we're trying to protect against. So what do these look like in your everyday life, and what can we do about them? I want you to join me in my next video, where we're going to talk about these more specifically, looking at the 12 most common distortions, what they are, how they're showing up in your life, and what we can do to start to dismantle these systems of thinking that are keeping us trapped and in a state of longing. For now, I want you to just sit with this information. Notice what comes up for you, what judgments, fears, distress present themselves, or maybe how your brain is trying to disqualify what I'm saying, or make it okay that you're thinking this way. Think about what these systems may have looked like for you and how they've tried to protect you. At its core, shame isn't trying to harm you. These thought patterns are rooted in an attempt to protect you. They're just operating on a belief system that doesn't give you the chance to live your best life. Now, as you all know, writing things down and sharing them out loud is one of the best ways to increase our buy-in and allow us to really process more deeply the information we're taking in. So leave a comment below with next steps, takeaways, questions, wonderings, extensions of where you're going to pull this or what you've learned in your own process and journey to living your best life. Be sure to take a look at the video notes to access any of the resources that I mentioned, as well as some additional resources that I think will really help you to go in the next steps of this process. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe to save yourself the time and energy of having to check back for content and get an alert whenever there's new awesomeness to check out. And if you want to stay in the know on all of the happenings of Adversity Rising, plus get exclusive content and specials that I don't share anywhere else, click the link in the show notes below to subscribe to my email list. I just want to take a second to thank you for being here with me today. This is a really hard topic. Cognitive distortions and really getting to the root of how we think about ourselves in the world and how perhaps those systems aren't working for us activates a ton of stress and defense. You made space to be here, and that's important to celebrate and to honor. And now I'm also asking you to sit with this before we dive deeper into naming them and then dismantling them, which is even harder. So just pause, celebrate the work that you've done to this point, leave a comment below to connect with other people in this journey, in this distress that we might be sitting in right now, and be sure to join me for the next video where we're gonna build on and go deeper into this topic. Because remember, you have the right to author your own story. So let's go get that pen.